Well, let's go and get started on this. Cryptocurrency part one. This week, we're going to discuss kind of the overview of crypto. What is it? How does it work? You're going to hear terms that you may or may not have ever heard before, like what's a hard fork, what's a soft fork, airdrops, blockchains, miners, and how they all, so we go over a lot of that today. There's at the end of the PowerPoint, which is going to be saved online, there are about 7 pages of definitions that we're not going to go through each one today. We're going to hit the highlight ones, the ones we think you're going to hear, the ones that are going to impact us, and what we do to work with. Again, so this is trading this stuff already, so you know a little bit about it. You're hopefully by the end of the day, you'll know a lot more about it, and probably more than you ever wanted to know about it. We're going to try to keep each other on track and not geek out over this stuff and go off on too many tangents.
Yeah.
Which can be pretty difficult to do.
By Doug.
This week, like I said, it's going to be straight overview. We're not going to talk about when it becomes income, how is it taxable, is it cap gain or income on tax return. That's all going to be next week. Also, for those of you who don't know, from our standpoint, they just passed the Senate version of the infrastructure bill, and it actually does address cryptocurrency. Obviously, by the time it clears the House, it's not going to look the same as it does in the Senate. So I will try to have a little bit of that in next week's presentation, kind of give us a heads up what may or may not be coming down the pipeline, but just know that they are addressing this with the infrastructure bill. Matt's gonna do most of the heavy lifting this week. I'm gonna interject here and there, and I've got a few things to say, and but next week you'll be stuck listening to my beautiful voice next week for the most of the time. So we'll get this thing kicked off. This is for CPE. I'm gonna pass around the stack here. You'll have to sign, check it off, and there is the evaluation behind there. Y'all will fill that out, and at the end of it, you can just give it back to us. And don't worry, my feelings won't be hurt one way or the other on it. All right. With that, I will hand it off to Mr. Matt, and we'll go on from here.
As long as y'all pump cryptos, I will give you 5.
That's the real purpose of the presentation.
The whole presentation is crypto. So,
There's another sheet coming around. If you can just write your name, credit card number on there, we'll.
You're gonna teach us how to invest, right?
Then I get all these notifications on my Discover card. What?
So the purpose of the presentation is to help understand what crypto is and where it's going. And it's a very deep rabbit hole. And the more questions that you answer, the more questions it creates. So we're definitely not going to cover everything, but I hope to increase understanding on the topic and interest on the topic of crypto. So here we go. Starter guide to cryptocurrency. This is the Bitcoin white paper abstract from 2008. So this was written by signed Satoshi Nakamoto. It's a person or group of people we don't know. It's anonymous, but it was made by Satoshi in 2008. The white paper was written, and Bitcoin came online in 2009. Why did he want to make this? Well, this was in response to the 2008 housing crisis and the crash. He wanted to have something to combat that. It was out of frustration to that event that he wanted to create Bitcoin. So why has cryptocurrency gained traction? There's a lot of reasons, and this isn't all of them, but these are some of the ones that come up the most online when you're searching. So DeFi, decentralized finance. It removes banks, governments, and mitigates inflation because there's not a central entity controlling this that can just say, hey, let's print 1,000 more of these anytime they want. So that's a major reason it's being touted. Some people are just interested in the technology behind cryptocurrency, which is the blockchain, which we'll get into. And it really is a technology. That's what interests me, especially when the prices are down and you have to be interested in the technology instead of the price. But other people are interested in pure speculation. They see Bitcoin go up and they want to jump on the rocket. And that's very much something that gets a lot of people into it. And then other people see crypto as a genuine currency of the future. And we're fortunate enough to live in a part of the world where that almost sounds silly to think of, but there are parts of the world that already do this. There are parts of Africa where they trade cell phone minutes because it's more reliable than their fiat currency in that area.
So can I say, so one thing too that I kind of think about too, why do people do it? Well, with the way the market in the world's been going, everything has been kind of crashing around, right? And the banks have struggled. We had the whole AIG crash a few years back between 2008 and now. I kind of relate it back to what my granddad used to do from when he lived through the Depression. And they're very untrusting of banks. Banks were closing. They weren't giving out cash. You couldn't get anything back then. So when people really pull out cash, they get other things with it. That's kind of what it's kind of what I think that's when we start getting traction for this as well. So,
Yeah, hardest to buy for sure.
sorry.
Are you good? So what is cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that's secured by cryptography, which makes it nearly impossible to counterfeit or double spend. Many crypto centralized networks based on blockchain technology, again, we'll get into that, which is a distributed ledger enforced by a network of computers. So there are a lot of similarities to the current system, like dollar bills have serial numbers. They're theoretically tracked by bank, the government, and your local bank when you go. We all have a debit or credit card and a number, and the bank knows that that information is tied to you because you had to give that information to create the account. So if you take $20 bill, serial number ABC, and move it into bank account 123, when you deposit that, the central bank, the government, and your bank branch all see that and confirm $20 ABC moved into bank account 123. This is very similar to how cryptocurrency works. And it's not too hard for us to understand because a lot of us don't even carry bills anymore, and we're already using digital currency on our normal fiat. So a couple of differences, instead of a bank account number, you're going to have a crypto wallet address. And the key difference here is you don't have to give all of your personal information to have a wallet address. They don't need your number, email, emergency contact, and all that to make a wallet. In that way, it's anonymous. It's held directly, the wallet is held directly by you. It's not held by a bank. You don't have to go through anybody to access or trade your cryptocurrency. This is both a positive and a negative because on the one hand, nobody can shut your transactions down. Nobody can say, we're taking this money, we're freezing your account. That they can't do any of that. On the other hand, you are responsible for all of your cryptocurrency. If you lose your private key, if you lose access to your wallet, you can't call up Wells Fargo or Chase and say, hey, help, I lost my stuff. It's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So there's a lot more responsibility, and it does have the protection from somebody being able to block you out. And I know I've woken up before and I had $1,000 in my account the night when I went to sleep, and I wake up and I'm at negative 100. And all I did the day before was go grocery shopping. Well, in that case, it's very nice to call Chase and say, hey, help me out. Like, this is obviously not me. Like, no, I did not spend $1,000 at a tire shop in California last night. So that's a true story. But anyway, so crypto does protect against that. So like the dollar, Bitcoin can be broken down into smaller pieces. While a dollar can be broken into 100 bits, crypto can be broken into 100 million Satoshis. Those are the breakdown portions of cryptocurrency named after Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator. People call it stacking sats when you're just buying little bits of currency. So let's go into blockchains, which is the backbone of cryptocurrency and what that is. So how do blockchains work? Well, they work, as we sort of touched on earlier, through a collection of processing power, a collection of computers that create a network, and they're all contributing their processing power, which is known as mining. Providing this processing power grants rewards to the miners, and we'll go into that in these next couple slides. So the main one that we're going to focus on right now is proof of work, because that's what Bitcoin is. That's the original system for this. There's also proof of stake and proof of authority, but those are less common. So for proof of work, to add each block to the chain, miners must complete to solve a difficult puzzle using their computer's processing power. In order to add a malicious block, or one where you're going to give yourself money or lie to the system, you would have to control at least 51% of the processing power of the network, which is an extreme amount, especially these days, and always growing. So the first miner to solve the puzzle is given a reward for their work. So where does this reward come from? Well, let's see how a transaction works. A transaction is requested. If you say, I want to send you some Bitcoin, you request that transaction, and a block representing that transaction is created. The block is sent to every node participant in the network. Those are the miners who are providing processing power with their computers, and those nodes validate the transaction, and they receive a reward for processing that transaction. So, and we'll touch more on this in the next slide. That block is then added to the existing blockchain, and all of these blocks are known by every computer on the network and verifying each other. That's where the security comes in of the 51% control. This update is sent across the network and the transaction is complete and it starts again. So where does the reward come from? What is funding this for these people to want to add their processing power? Why do companies buy all these rigs and set them up just to mine Bitcoin and provide their processing power to the network? So that was built into the Bitcoin program when it was created. So there's block rewards are built into the system. When it first came out, every time a miner successfully solved the block, they'd receive 50 Bitcoin for solving that block. And back then, you could have done it with a normal desktop computer. That'd be completely fine, and you could farm Bitcoin that way. It's grown so much that's no longer possible. Now you have to have far more processing power, and you couldn't do anything with the normal desktop. It would be completely futile to use it. So every 4 years, there is what's known as a Bitcoin halving. And these rewards are cut in half. This is built into the system. There's a max supply of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be created, period. It's a finite currency. So every 4 years, this is cut in half. If you mined when it first started, you would have been getting 50 Bitcoin for every block that your processing power was able to solve and add to the network. In 2013, that dropped in half to 25. So any block you solved was half of that. We recently had, the most recent halving was in 2020 in May. In May 11th, the block reward dropped from 12.5 Bitcoin for everyone who solved the equation, for every miner that solved the block, to 6.25. So this is creating a form of scarcity because this faucet that's letting Bitcoin out into the open is getting tightened down every 4 years, and the supply gets cut off by these halvings. So historically, and a thing that gets people very excited about Bitcoin is every time there's a halving, there's been a traditional spike in the price of Bitcoin, which you can see between 2017, 2018, and then 2014, 2013. These sections following the red lines representing the halvings, there's generally a spike in price. After our most recent one, this is where we are. There's currently one happening. And the question in a lot of people's minds is this spike done or is it going to spike more? That's why it's been in the news so much this last year. That's why it's resurging, because every 4 years, Bitcoin comes out and everybody gets all excited about it. That's why you hear about it and then it pretty much goes quiet. And this isn't about price, but you have to mention it when you're talking about Bitcoin. So, okay. And I meant to cut this slide up, but I didn't get to it, so I'm just going to go through it. Attributes of cryptocurrency. So it's permissionless and trustless. There's no third party. There's not a bank you have to go through. There's not a payment processor monitoring your transactions. It's global and near instant. You can send money to anyone you want that has a Bitcoin wallet address, and you don't have to ask anybody for it. There's no one that can shut it down. It's fully recorded. So every time you make an on-chain transaction, when you send cryptocurrency to another person over the actual Bitcoin network or Ethereum network, when you do an on-chain transaction, that is all recorded and all visible. If you go and look at my wallet address or your wallet address online, you can see every transaction that's ever occurred. Anything incoming, anything outgoing has a transaction ID. So you can follow all of it. It's transferable. You can send crypto to anyone, anywhere for just a small fee. It's transparent. Again, as I said, everything is visible on the blockchain. And this kind of clashes with the next one, privacy, because you think, well, if it's transparent, how is it private? Well, it's private because, again, going back to the bank account thing, your wallet is not necessarily tied to you. Just because you can see every transaction in a wallet doesn't mean that they know that Matt Bragg was making all these transactions. So it's transparent and private, safe and secure. That goes back to the computer processing power of this network. It's immense. It would take such a large amount of power to do anything to the network. That's what secures Bitcoin on proof of work systems. Let's see. So portability, because financial institutions and governments aren't in control of it. You're in charge of who you send it to and who sends it to you. It's irreversible, and this is kind of an important one because it can help prevent fraud. And if you send me a Bitcoin, when that Bitcoin hits my wallet, again, there's no oopsie daisy, there's no undo. I can't run to somebody and say, hey, I didn't mean to send that, cancel my credit card, undo that transaction. It's done. So if you have it, you can be confident that you have the money you're owed, and you can proceed with whatever work you're promising to do for that, or whatever the system, whatever you may be doing the transaction for. But it's not going to be reversed on you. Let's see. Whoops. Irreversibility, there we go for that. And again, decentralized. This is the thing that's been kind of running the front runner the last couple of years on cryptocurrency is it's decentralized. It's not controlled by anybody, a government central authority. So moving and storing cryptocurrency. How do you transact with this? And this is what we've been starting to see from our clients. So generally, an exchange is kind of the first step. That's Coinbase, that's Robinhood. These are places where you can go and you can take your fiat, you can take your dollars and turn it into cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell and trade crypto on these exchanges. And if it's a good one, then you, like Coinbase allows you, if you buy a Bitcoin, that's called anything on an exchange is an off-chain transaction. That means this is not actually happening on the Bitcoin or Ethereum network. They're saying, okay, you gave us your money and you want one Ethereum. We're going to hold this one Ethereum for you, but you're not holding it in a wallet. It's not a transaction on the blockchain. It's just something that they're saying you have. Now, if you take that crypto off the exchange and send it to a wallet, that is an on-chain transaction. That is a recorded transaction that will show up in the ledger if you go and look at the Ethereum or blockchain ledger and your wallet address. It will be permanently recorded there and recorded by all those computers on the network. So wallets secure your crypto. They're generally used for long-term storage because it is easier to move money around on an exchange. With a wallet, there's cold storage, there's hardware wallets, software wallets, there's a lot of those. We'll get into those later, but just know it's for crypto storage, and those are for on-chain transactions. If you want to do an on-chain transaction with your crypto from a wallet, you're going to need a DEX, a decentralized exchange. And this is different from an exchange because this allows direct peer-to-peer cryptocurrency transactions. These are the ones that are on-chain that show up on the blockchain. So let's give some examples of those. So an exchange, the most common one in the US, which probably a lot of you have seen this, is Coinbase. This is the entry exchange for most people. And the thing about an exchange, it does have many positives, but you can only transact with the things they allow you to, right? They don't have every single thing that's on the blockchain. If you're transacting from a wallet or something, you have access to everything because there's nothing limited. Coinbase, you can use what they let you use, but it is a good system. And there's other ones, again, like Robinhood. A lot of them are getting into it now. So Coinbase also has a wallet like we were talking about earlier. Now, as you see, no Coinbase account required. That's because this will transact on chain. This is completely different from the Coinbase exchange. This is a Coinbase wallet application, and this allows you to tie into a DEX. This is Ethereum and probably the most known DEX, decentralized exchange. If you were to go in here, as I have an example here, and put one Ethereum, and you wanted to turn that into USDC, which is a stable coin, and stable coins are tied to the dollar. So one USDC should always be worth between 99 cents and $1.01. There is some fluctuation, but it's tied to that dollar. So right now, or at the time of this, I think it was on the 6th, Ethereum was at $2,900. So if you were to come up here in the top right and click connect your wallet, it would say, okay, great, which wallet do you want to use? And you see that third one is a Coinbase wallet. So if you want to do an on-chain transaction, there's more to it than that, but that's how you go about that, starting that. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chad, talk about forks.
So forks, they're not just for eating your supper anymore. There are two different kinds of you're going to hear about, you're going to deal with, and we might even get questions from clients on. And yes, they even have plastic forks. That would be a broken fork in most cases. So your soft forks and hard forks, what are they? They are transition points on the blockchain, to put it in general terms. Whoa, hello, never mind. So what is a hard, I'm gonna start with the hard forks because that's gonna be the easiest one probably to understand. A hard fork is, by basically IRS's definition, is a unique distributed ledger technology that occurs when the cryptocurrency's distributed ledger undergoes what they call a protocol change. It results in a permanent diversion of that blockchain. It takes it from one to two blockchains. So you have two separate ones. The way I like to think about it and try to relate it to, because blockchains are sometimes hard to wrap your head around is a spinoff of a company. So the example that I've got here is Kraft Foods. Back in 2012, they spun off and created a whole new division that trades completely separate on the stock market called Mondelez International. And these brands that you might know about Kraft Foods, of course, you know about the Kraft version, but you've also got the A1 steak sauce, Easy Cheese, Velveeta, a lot of brands you know about. That is on the Kraft brand, the Kraft blockchain under the Kraft stock if you trade Kraft stock. Mondelez International is your Oreo brand, your Cadbury eggs that I had a bunch of Easter time. Nabisco, Trident gum, things like that. That's under Mondelez. All those were one stock until 2012, when Kraft said, you know what? Let's break these off. We have two different divisions, two completely different stocks, two different companies. That's what happens with the hard fork. Once it breaks off, you have two different ones, never the twain shall meet, okay? On a soft fork, that's more like an improvement or an upgrade. That's where you took your Microsoft Internet Explorer and now you can't use your 2008 version anymore. You've got Edge, you've got Silverlight. You can't go backwards. It improved, it upgraded, and now it kind of left the other one behind. If you have coins on the old soft fork, the old technology, they're going to go away. They're going to be worthless. There's a zero value. You can't trade them at that point any longer. Why would they do this? Well, it's all about improvement, right? So it's about improving security. It's about improving technology. It's about improving tradability. What we're going to talk about here in a little while is about the blockchain, especially like the Ethereum blockchain. You can do more than just cryptocurrency with the Ethereum blockchain. Blockchains are used for coins. They're used for what we're going to go into in a little while, NFTs, which we'll talk about. It's not just for cryptocurrency. But oh yeah, so that's right. Did we skip that? Okay, never mind. We already ordered it. So like I said, this is the Ethereum fork. So what Ethereum did, and was a hard fork. So Ethereum is not the original blockchain. The original blockchain was Ethereum Classic. Yes, exactly. That's just it. So there are multiple levels on this. There was one over here, Ethereum, the ETH, that's the one that everybody is familiar with now. That's not the original one. Right? So, and as you can see how this all starts getting kind of intertwined and commingled, it's hard to keep up with. Luckily, we're not going to have to worry about a whole lot of it when we get to this, when we're talking to our clients. We're not going to be talking blockchains. That's the plus. But you do need to understand the difference between what this is, how it works, and how things get spun off of it. What everybody knows is Bitcoin. So these are all the different forks that Bitcoin has had. Some of these are soft, most of them are hard. And there's a whole lot of children in Bitcoin, to put it bluntly. And you'll have a fork, then you have another fork, then you have another fork. And what we're going to focus on is that left-hand side over here in a minute. We've got another blown-up version of that to kind of show you a expanded view. We're going to go through how we got to Doge, which is Eric's favorite. So Bitcoin was introduced in 2008. Eventually had a hard fork, which created Litecoin, which eventually had another hard fork, create Lucky Coin. And then now you have Lucky Doge. Doge has been the hot topic lately. So you can see how they all go. We have forks completely separate here in this chain of command. So these would be a hard fork as opposed to a soft fork. It's kind of like a spin-off, exactly.
Yeah. Copy and
Yeah,
paste.
that thing with Dogecoin is like a perfect copy of Bitcoin, right? Like, it's not really.
Copy of a copy of a copy. Yeah. Yeah.
It's time to make a copy of the copy maker.
Like that fuzzy little copy you made from a copy.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason we're talking about forks is because forks can be a taxable event, which we'll go into more next week. The way that works is with airdrops. Oftentimes when there's a hard fork, in order to distribute the second currency that's created, they will just give a 1-to-1 ratio of the original coin. So if you held one Bitcoin and then a new coin, Litecoin was created, that would be distributed to Bitcoin holders. And so it's basically free money. Your basis will be what happens when it hits your account. And the IRS is, again, we'll go more into this next week, but do you have access to it? Are you able to send and spend it? And if so, it's taxable. So airdrops can occur from hard forks when a blockchain is split into two, and they're basically put into your wallet without you doing anything. It just is dropped into your wallet. That's why it's called an airdrop. They can also be done as a form of advertising. So if you have a platform and you want people to use it, the most famous one I know of is the Uniswap airdrop. This is that platform we talked about earlier. It's the decentralized exchange for Ethereum where you can transact on-chain on the network. They sent out 400 Uni tokens in September of 2020 to anyone that had even tried to use the platform. If you had created a wallet and tried to do a transaction on-chain, you received 400 Uni tokens. These recently capped out at $42, making this airdrop that's just put into your wallet essentially for free worth 17,000 at its peak. So they just sent this to all of their users. And that's the most famous one.
Time to send it.
It was way less, way less. Yes, that's right.
They're not gonna give you.
No. It was not 17 when it hit the account. That's right. It was very much less than that. So different types of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is the most well-known. They're not all created equal. They're very different. And one of the key metrics that you don't really know until you get into it is the market cap versus the coin price. So the market cap is the coin price times the number of coins that exist. And this is really important because a lot of people see Dogecoin was at 0.003 cents and they say, oh, if I buy Doge and it goes to the price of Bitcoin, I want to be a gazillionaire. Well, that would be very, very difficult to do because Bitcoin has a max supply of 21 million. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and there's currently about 18.7 million. There's currently 130 billion Dogecoins. So right now, Bitcoin's market cap, which means how much money is in Bitcoin, at the time of this, I think it was like the 6th I did this, Bitcoin's total market cap was 800 billion. Well, Dogecoin's is 26 billion. If Dogecoin's total monetary value surpassed Bitcoin and went to $1 trillion, one Doge would be worth $7. So, but from the outside looking in, there's no reason to know that if you don't know about cryptocurrency. But it's a very important thing. Market cap tells you a lot more about a currency than coin price. And again, market cap is coin price times the supply. How many coins are there? So this is a site called CoinGecko.com. The other most famous one probably is CoinMarketCap, or most used, I should say. I don't know about famous, but is CoinMarketCap.com. And this just shows you a bunch of different. It shows you price, market cap, 24-hour volume, a bunch of different things you can look. And if you click on these currencies, it'll show you more information about them. It's just a good site to know, and it's a good place to get information. You can see the top. It lists them in order of market cap here. So those are the biggest ones right now. So what is Bitcoin? What's its purpose? How is it presented? Well, Bitcoin has lately been touted as digital gold. And the reason for this is people say it's a store of value, it's inflation resistant, and it's tamper resistant against central entities. So for this reason, it's been used as a store of value. What is Ethereum? Ethereum is built completely different purpose. So while Bitcoin was made to be money, was made to be gold, Ethereum is built, it's been called digital oil. It is programmable with something called smart contracts. You can build applications on Ethereum on a decentralized network. So this is Vitalik Buterin, and he is the Ethereum founder. And Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, and there's nothing else even close. Bitcoin right now is like 800 billion. Ethereum's like 400, and then the next is like 60. There's nothing else even close. Ethereum was founded in 2013 by Vitalik Buterin. Here he is. I just think it's funny how he claps. He gets excited. You think he's saving his fingers for programming, but anyway, he founded Ethereum because he saw Bitcoin. He was super interested in it, but he thought it was too limited in functionality. He compared Bitcoin to a pocket calculator, where Ethereum, he says, is more like a smartphone with multiple applications. applications you can use. You know, shots fired, but that's what it's playing out to be. So Ethereum to me is where stuff gets interesting. And there's a lot of other cryptocurrencies doing things like this. It's not just money. It's not just a coin you send. So the potential applications of Ethereum are wide ranging and are powered by its native cryptographic token, Ether, commonly abbreviated as ETH. Ether is the fuel for running commands on the Ethereum platform and is used by developers to build and run applications on the platform. So while you can pay a fee of Ethereum to transact on chain and send Ethereum or most other coins, because most coins are built on Ethereum because it's so useful, it can do a lot more than that. It's a programming language on the blockchain. So this shows you Ethereum versus Bitcoin transaction count history. And you can see since Ethereum's inception, it has been catching and now has significantly overtaken Bitcoin. Ethereum's in red there. This is just the 7-day moving average transactions that are occurring on chains. This doesn't show exchanges. This shows actual on-chain transactions. And Ethereum is crushing Bitcoin on that metric. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, mostly because of what all it can do. But the most recent one that's being shown in the news are NFTs, which Chad's going to talk a little bit about here.
NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So we've been talking about the Ethereum, we talked about the Litecoin, the Doge, and Bitcoin. Those are fungible tokens. Those are a change of currency. If I give you a $20 bill, you give me 2 5s, that's fungible. It's not going to change what it actually is.
You don't care which 2 5s you get or which 20 you're getting, they're all interchangeable.
They're all the same thing. A non-fungible token is the equivalent of buying a Van Gogh, an original Van Gogh, and getting a print. Non-fungible token is the original, is digitally signatured. It has a certificate of authenticity that's digitally signatured, and it's a one of a kind. You might be able to buy prints of it, but you're not buying the actual original artwork. It can be artwork, it can be a signature, it can be a song, it can be anything. It's a digital asset. It can be a skin, it's just a digital asset that's traded, and we'll show you in a little while, they go crazy on these things, right? So, and everybody's getting into this. That's the crazy thing about this, is everybody's getting into this. But what is it? I mean, how do you do this? There's pre-financing, there's future events, there's perpetual events. These are collectibles. And I don't know if y'all pay attention to the Coinbase wallet they showed a while ago. It had your cryptocurrency, and there's another tab over that you click on, or your collectibles. These are your collectibles. This is your museum of your artwork, your signatures that you've bought that you can now trade and sell if you want to for more money. And I'm going to give you an actual live version example out here in a little bit too. But how do you get an NFT? Well, you actually have to buy real estate, quote unquote, real estate for NFT. You have to buy an NFT. Artists are doing this. They're buying NFTs on here. They're creating their artwork on these things. That way there's digitally signatured to them. They can sell them for whatever they can sell them for. And most times they still retain the ownership rights, so they can sell prints of their original. Again, it won't be the exact same thing because it's not like trading $1 for $1. But it'll be like buying your print of the Van Gogh to hang up in your thing. Go, oh yeah, pretty good. Don't worry about the blemish on that thing right there. It might be original, I just don't know. So, but yeah, so these are digitally signatured, and they do have COA, authenticity, and they're on the Ethereum blockchain network. And again, they have all the computing power. Now, one thing that to note on the NFTs for sure before I get into an example here, but NFTs, just like the crypto, they take a lot of computing power, a lot of energy, and there's actually some concern about the people that are concerned about the environment, the greenhouse gases. That's starting to become a hotter topic for NFTs because it is taking so much energy and computing power on those. Lots of everybody's getting in on this NFT chain, right? Including there we go. Including DraftKings. So this is a wager-based website. And the reason why I see Tom Brady up there is as of yesterday, DraftKings launched their own NFT marketplace. Tom Brady, of course, was the first one to launch his digital trading cards. Yesterday were cards. Tomorrow they're dropping digital signed Tom Brady trading cards. So everybody's getting in on this whole gig. It's a great thing for them. They're making a lot of money. This is as of, I've got a live example, but this is what it was earlier. So that card on the right that shows $26.99, those cards yesterday they sold for $100 off the bat. So in less than 24 hours, it went from $100 to $2,700.
Wow.
Just because that's what people are willing to pay for it.
So,
All
yeah,
there's to it. So. See if I'm still logged in here. This is what an actual market, if it'll let me open it up, it may time me out.
Blanks.
This is actually the DraftKings Marketplace website. This is what it is. This is the drops that tells you when they're gonna go, how they're gonna do it. You can scroll down and see what they're going for. These are gonna start off at $250. When you click into these things, it'll show you and the reason why I'm doing this is like, these are moving actual animated cards. They're gonna have 100 of these and none of them will be identical. Each one you buy is gonna be its own identical card. But you'll buy them here for $250, then you go out to the marketplace, sell for whatever you want to. They'll all have its own address, signature, and basically that's how this is gonna particularly run. When you click the browse, this is where you get that secondary marketplace. So that same card I showed you was 26, now it's back up to $31.99. And that's all within the last,
an hour.
that's within the last hour.
That means somebody bought the $2,600 card and they raised the price.
So, and this one right here was $12 when it launched yesterday.
Oh,
So this is what NFTs are doing these days. And they're ridiculous in some case. But if I were to buy one of these, which of course I need a raise to do that, Tom.
Did you buy one?
Did I say that out loud? I'm just.
Dude, like a pass on to
You know,
you.
you pay them an NFT, a blanket.
Sounds like, here's a signature NFT of my signature. But this is where all my NFTs would be in my portfolio for this particular website. So this particular website, this just launched yesterday. Eventually, you'll be able to move them from this portfolio to other wallets
On chain.
on chain to be able to transact them elsewhere. But like I said, we just want to kind of give you like a live to show you in an hour, it will increase a lot.
You go show us anywhere that goes down?
That never happens.
Never.
So-
Happens all the time, so you really,
So this morning, that same 2,600 card started off at 780, went up to 31, back down to wherever I had a while ago, back down to 26.99, and then I'm back up to 3,200, all within about the last 5 hours.
To get into some, sorry.
No, go ahead.
To get into some extreme examples of this, I got a quote up here if y'all recognize, Mom always said, stupid is as stupid does. 'Cause I don't understand this stuff. And that's right.
That's
That's
right.
Mr. Forrest A. Gump. So this is one of the first NFTs to ever be created. It's called a Crypto Kitty. And this particular one, which is an NFT, sold for $172,000. This is the Nyan Nyan
wait.
cat. This is the Nyan Nyan cat. Some of you probably remember this from years back. Well, this was turned into an NFT and sold for $600,000.
Now, to me, that looks like a flying Pop-Tart.
Yeah. It is.
I don't understand it.
This is Jack Dorsey's first tweet. Jack Dorsey is one of the creators of Twitter, and I believe this is the first tweet ever made on Twitter, which obviously makes it super valuable. So it was turned into an NFT and sold for $2.9 million. This, I mean, obviously you all know who that is. I don't have to tell you about this one, but that's a
You do have to tell us.
that's a crypto punk. I'm joking about anybody knowing what the heck that is. They're called a crypto punk, and it's obviously super rare because of the blue skin tint, the alien variant, and it's got the COVID mask, which is super rare. This sold for $11.7 million.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What is rare about that picture?
I just have no idea. They say it's the alien tint skin because it's got the blue skin and the COVID mask that makes it super rare for some reason.
So
But wait,
It's like,
you bought this, right?
there's more.
Yeah, there's a limited number of them,
I
yeah.
traded my signature of Tom for this one.
Oh, good.
As absurd as these are, to date, the most expensive NFT is by Beeple, an artist who had never sold anything for more than $1,000 up until this work. He sold this work titled Every Day is the First 5,000 Days, where he did a digital art piece every day for, I think it's like 13 years, and sold it for $69 million on an auction, a Christie's auction. So, yeah, imagine that.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Wasting all the money. Beating things 12 years
You
ago.
wouldn't know who the fucking artists are now.
No, it's.
But he does.
But before I get into that, so one other thing about NFTs, they're digital certifiable artwork. So not just artwork, they're certifiable. You can see them on chain. So it's proof of ownership. That's the key here. There are limited numbers and they can be traced to be proven original. So that's why, the same way like a first edition card is more valuable than a regular card of the same version, just because that little number's there. It's kind of like that. One neat thing is that they are programmable. So this artist or any artist, if you create an NFT, you could program into the contract that if this NFT is ever resold, that 20% of that sale price goes back to the creator. So that's a huge difference for artists, musicians, things like that, and really anything, especially even the ticketing industry. The price can be chopped up in portions sent to the venue, the artist, and then after the fact, the tickets themselves could be collectibles. Point is, we're touching the tip of the iceberg and showing you some goofy, crazy numbers just because it's interesting or it's funny. But there's a lot more uses that are not this silly, that are just kind of being touched on. We don't really know where it's going to go. But this is the thing that's just rampaging because it's ridiculous. So these are just some other blockchains that I find interesting because they're doing something totally different, like Ethereum was made to be a trade of a coin for value. So Theta TV is a decentralized on-chain YouTube, and they pay people in their, I think State of Fuel is their token, and for hosting videos and streaming these out to other people, they pay their token. And so it's a decentralized YouTube, which YouTube can really control the content and who sees what and everything. And this is prevention from that. I just think it's really neat. You can look any of these up and they'll show right up. And this is all saved on the S drive, but Filecoin is comparable to Microsoft's cloud storage, but again, decentralized with no one really in charge of it or controlling what you can do with that. Ripple XRP is one of the big currencies. They're working with banks. They've got banks that they're doing deals with to make fast, seamless, easy cross-border payments for just to make everything smoother and faster without middlemen. Internet Computer, ICP, that's a more recent one. They're aiming, and this one's kind of new, so I don't know a lot about it, but they're aiming to make an internet based on the blockchain, like a completely new decentralized internet. I just think that's neat. OVR is that's a crypto that is doing a virtual 3D overlay of the entire world in hexagons. So like you could go onto their website and buy the digital rights to this room if you wanted to. You could look, and this might be, I don't know, 2, 4, whatever it is, hexagons that would make up this room, and you could buy this. And probably no one will have done that unless somebody here.
To Siberia.
And if you think, this room probably has not been picked up, and if you did, it would probably be $1 to buy it because there's probably not a lot of competition, but it's in bids that these things are
I
bought.
think that
But
the OVR thing, I mean, that has potential in that if they do pull this internet, you own that space.
Right.
And no one can advertise there except you. So if you
Exactly.
technically own like valuable real estate on the blockchain and it's highly visible, then you could sell it for a premium, just like
Exactly.
in real life.
And will this take off or will this never be anything? Probably never anything, but it's just neat that this stuff is happening to me. I'm not trying to say y'all need to go buy land in OVR,
Like
but
you say it might not be anything,
You
but
just
then
never
like
know.
in 10 years, I'm like, dang
you're
it.
gonna
why
regret
did I do
it.
that?
Matt, I'm telling you.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to convince you. It's gonna be, if you can tell by my interest what I think, but I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to show you.
Bentley by now.
Yeah.
What you buy? And
So-
buy something?
I own the entrances to NRG Stadium because a lot of people go there. It's like $4. So, maybe it'll be something, maybe it won't,
Should be
but,
a lot less than that.
should have held out. So, Chili's, I think some of y'all will like this. They are doing, they do a bunch of NFTs. They work with, wait, let me get back to my.
When you said
notes.
Chili's, I thought you were talking about the restaurant.
Right, it's also a delicious restaurant, but Chili's does, let's see, they're a platform for the sports industry and they allow, it says global fans to get closer to their favorite sports teams and clubs. They've done a bunch of deals with different teams. They've created NFTs and it kind of exploded this last year. It just got really popular. But they're doing a bunch of sports stuff. The Engine Coin is, that's the biggest gaming platform and they're doing a bunch of NFTs for gaming. There's games like back when I was growing up, I played like Counter-Strike. It's a first-person shooter. Well, now I haven't played it in years, but that game has grown and there's like new versions of it. And from my understanding, there are items in that game, like if you buy a knife and it's shiny or something, you can sell that to other people for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, the most rare ones.
Like the skin, like the weapons.
The skins, right, yes, the weapon skins.
I was thinking like
So-
that. I remember someone comparing NFTs to that.
And this is one thing that people are saying is just such a direct, easy transition in FIFA. If you want to get some golden shoes, eventually that could be an NFT. And what that would do is if the game ever shuts down, if the servers ever stop playing, you still own the NFT in your wallet as a sort of collectible thing. And it just really meshes with that. So that's one that gets talked about a lot. But I just wanted to go, there's a zillion other things out there. This is just a couple that stand out to me that I think are interesting. They're doing all kinds of stuff with this. And that's the point I want to make is that we are touching that, even though I've talked so long, probably are like, please stop. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more out there. We don't really know where it's going.
So two things, legal stuff, like, you know how you're saying it's, no one's controlling it, but what about immoral legal stuff? Like you want to do some bad things.
Like Theta TV, like what kind of things?
Well, if the government wants to find you, they're probably gonna find you. But it's not like this is all immune to law. What it is they don't just have an off switch that they can press. Like, if you owe them money, they just, okay, we'll take it. And if anything hits your bank account, nope, straight to them. They can't do that with this. So that's the difference. It's not like you're immune,
And then
to
the second
anything.
question is taxation.
Yeah.
That's-
No tax switches.
Part two next week.
I need 3 weeks.
That's all taxation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's a
listen,
lot of information.
yeah, you don't have to be regulated like the SEC or the FTC. They have no control of this whatsoever at this point. That's the way it is.
That's like.
If for some reason we got hit with an electromagnetic pulse,
Yes. I
all
heard
this
about
stuff
that.
goes to shit, right?
Well, that's why you have to own one of those electromagnetic protection boxes to store your wallet in. Of course, you need one of those, but no, I've heard about that. I heard about that. It happened in some country some years
But the
ago,
same
right?
thing can happen-
Yeah, that's a fear of.
The same
of
thing can
people,
happen
yeah.
with your bank account. I mean, your money is digital right now.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be worried about.
Your bank says you have $1,000.
That doesn't mean the money is in your
The
hand.
money's tangible there. It's digital as well. It's the same risk.
But that's interesting. I've heard about that.
But there are records of that.
Yeah. Paper records.
Well, the blockchain is always a moving thing. It's not just one server, so.
Yeah, basically the whole blockchains have to go offline, which is all spread out across the world. So it would have to knock everything out to
Just
really.
real quick, why that would work. We actually had a real life example of why we need crypto and decentralization. When running for his last election, the bank shut them out. They shut out all donors. They said, no, we're not gonna play ball with you. And that's it. So had they been in crypto, no big deal. Okay, we'll just transact in crypto. F you guys. But I mean, that's a scary part. They literally can go in and shut you down if they wanted to.
Yeah.
No, the banks are moving into this anyways.
Yeah, the banks are moving.
Fidelity in there, JP Morgan,
Yeah.
BNC, they have to, otherwise they're gonna be obsolete.
I mean, whether you like Trump or not, I mean, it's scary to think that the government can just do. Hey, we don't like you, so we're not gonna let you transact.
And Derek made a comment that I wanted to kind of expand on. He didn't even realize what he said.
Yeah.
So a good point about what he said here a second ago is cryptocurrency is not just digital currency. It is a form of that, but it's not just that. We transact in digital currency every day with our ATM cards, our credit cards, things like that. That is this is part of it, but it's not just digital currency. So if somebody, I'm gonna digital currency, which one? Credit card, ATM card? There's a lot of it. PayPal, Venmo, those are all digital currency venues. This is a different version of it. It's just not, there's no regulatory at this point with it.
And something I want to say while we're on the topic. So this is all new, and everyone, including the IRS, is getting their head around crypto. They have basically 2 documents that are like 10 pages each. And that's what anything the IRS puts out is like, refer to one of these 2 documents. And I saved them on the S drive, not at university, but that's like, everything they say is just like, look at that document, look at that document. So if the example is not on there, they just don't have that much information out. There's not that much guidance. It's still being written. So that's why this stuff is confusing, or one of the reasons it's confusing. Another thing is exchanges. These centralized exchanges, the better ones, are also catching up, and so are crypto tax services. All this stuff is being developed now. The good exchanges will be able to print out a list of your transactions and show you basis in these things. And then there are some that aren't there, and you have to calculate it yourself. And then when you get into decentralized exchanges, then we're in the Wild West. Then it's like, I hope you're tracking what you're doing, changing this for that and that for this, all, 1,000 transactions. Good luck, well, shoot, good luck to us on reconciling that.
So that's definitely somewhere we could potentially pivot in the future in terms of if we as a firm know more about crypto, this could be some sort of competitive advantage.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're already seeing it from some clients, and if it keeps going the way it's going, we're just going to see it more and more.
Yeah. Full disclosure, one of Tom's clients and I are working, setting up a self-directed IRA where he will invest in cryptocurrency.
Yes, right.
Yes,
And a substantial amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I've got a
I was
neighbor.
just in
He
our
moved all his
long
IRAs
call
to
about this
crypto.
movie.
Assets under management.
Yeah.
So that's most of what we got. We had a bunch of definitions in case we had more time, but I don't think we really do. So you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so like I said, this is saved on the S drive in the training folder. Like I said, there's a ton of definitions out there. By all means, ask any questions you guys have. We're here to help out. Eric obviously is very knowledgeable in this as well, so.
Find any nerd in the office
Yeah.
and they'll probably know something about
And
crypto.
I just, as part of this work with Tom's client, the firm is Coinbase.
Yeah.
They have provided me with a 16-page guide, which I'll see made available.
Awesome.
In terms of investing and retirement planning.
Great. Oh, cool.
So we'll make sure that that's available as well.
Please.
It's under the S drive.
It's on the S drive, RMAU, and then there's a training folder.
Training.
And inside of the training folder is the cryptocurrency for this.
This is there, that Bitcoin white paper is there, and the 2 IRS documents are there.
And we're gonna go into more of the IRS documents next week.
Yeah.
Those are going to change depending on what legislation passes.
So Bitcoin was created by the 2 guys that.
They don't know who
Don't know.
created
It
it.
was signed by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is a person or group of people.
They have
and
no
it's
clue.
never been found
Still
out.
anonymous.
Yeah.
Weird.
The twins were with Sid.
The Winklevoss, they got in really early. Yeah.
They're just famous because
Because they got rich on Bitcoin,
They have
basically.
we told
They
you
have
so.
Yeah.
They own an exchange, it's called Gemini.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where they keep making their money.
Matt, when you said that, we have to buy the.
Well, they get about 100,000 Bitcoin.
Oh, I was.
Yeah, they're still doing pretty
Yeah,
good.
Mark-
If you
Mark
ever,
Zuckerberg
he's talking about a super rare event. I don't know what they call super fresh.
Can happen.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
stole
It's like going in
Facebook
one in a
idea.
million years.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
when
those
it happens.
are-
Apparently, so people are like, what if that happens?
And they.
You usually have to
we
look it
pay
up
the
to
settlement
know more than I know about it, but yeah, the idea is.
To
you know,
get
kids,
rid of them.
rock
Oh,
stars,
they don't- and they
basically
probably
electronics.
put a lot of that stuff in it.
No, they don't. Crypto wallet, you don't know a lot.
Are we still?
It's like in here.
That was the system.
Yes.
I can keep it like
say.
I'm gonna chop it in
And you have
and.
no access to.
If there aren't any other questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
I don't,
Like I said, next week, part two, we're gonna talk about the taxation. We're gonna talk about those IRS documents that are faded out there, and how it's impacts us. And
Very
those are things to do.
What you were talking about, one
It seemed like a
one
fire.
one of the things was using up a lot of
Well,
energy.
the
Yes.
blockchains in general just generate a lot of energy. They take a lot of energy. And so there have been some artists that refuse to use NFTs because of that. And a big argument now is how much, what are the greenhouse gases doing, things like that. Because of the energy being used, it takes some computing power to do all this and try to keep it safe.
Yeah, I've heard like stories of,
That's
so
mine.
I've heard,
That's
yeah, I've
proof
heard
of
stories
work.
about students who would use their financial aid funds to try to mine Bitcoin in the dorm rooms.
Oh, yeah, no,
You
I
can probably do it.
remember like dating a guy and he had like 4 computers in his living room. And I'm like, what are these for? And he's like, I mine cryptocurrency. I'm like, okay, bye. Okay, great, okay.
Hindsight 2020.
He's a Jack a millionaire
So, yeah,
The energy consumption is a major thing, and it's been in the news, and a lot of people are concerned about it, and Elon's attacked it and then gone back on it and this and that. So the answer to that was kind of this slide, and this is where Ethereum is currently proof of work like Bitcoin, and the reason that eats electricity is because you've got these gazillion computers that are all providing maximum processing power to Bitcoin to secure the network. Proof of stake is what Cardano is doing. That is what Ethereum is about to do. They're about to transition. They say by the end of the year, but Ethereum always pushes everything back, so who knows when it'll actually land. They're transitioning to Ethereum 2.0, which is proof of stake. It's completely different from proof of work. Proof of work is secured by all the computer processing power. Proof of stake is secured by your ownership of the coin. So you would have to own over half of all the coins in existence to be able to attack a proof of stake network in theory. That is the answer and sort of where things are going to this electricity issue on that. And then there's, I mean, obviously it's more nuanced than that, but that is the most relevant answer right now. And that's where the big ones are going. So
there are some, just real quick point, there are some startups now that are, there's this kid out in Tennessee, one of these hydroelectric states, where he's using hydroelectric power to generate that. He said, you can invest in his company, he maintains everything, and you just pretty much collect whatever profits you take for the year, for the month.
I was gonna say it's being used for renewables as
Yeah.
well. Like it's
Yeah.
more nuanced than just proof of stake, but that is one of the answers. And yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've got a company right now out in West Texas, he's planning to build 18-wheeler rigs full of these servers and cooling towers and have a propane generator where all this, these flares that they're burning off the oil field is gonna take that and try to power the trailer with it, and just move it from site to site so that it keeps producing.
So more West Texas real money.
hey, there's a lot of that. But you hear about this stuff if you pay attention. It's like a lot of sports. There's a lot of sports figures saying, hey, I want to be paid my bonus in cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Trevor Lawrence, it's not a big deal. Blockfolian got paid in Solana. A lot of his bonus money, that's what that's their agreement. So a lot of the professional athletes are getting on board. And therefore, it's also becoming to the forefront as well because of that. We're gonna keep hearing about this. The more the banks try to centralize and tighten their grip on that, we're gonna hear about more from our clients. It's coming, whether you like
And
it
it's
or
all,
not.
next week is all the tax.
Next week will be the income and taxability of all that. And I don't know when I'll have it finished. I'll have to, hopefully be pretty soon. I'm working on, knock on wood, a template of how that we might be able to use in the office to calculate this because there's so many moving pieces to it. I hope I'll have it wet next week, but I'm not gonna promise anything.
Get Damien to help you.
Damien's good with things, so. tell him close.
I guess we'll have to get on board with some of those calculations, but yeah.
So, yeah, I've got it started. I've got it in my house. I've been working on it at night, but yeah. Like I said, I've got my neighbor does a ton of cryptos. He's like, Chad, what can I do? I was like, you got a lot of work to do for me first.
So we might be seeing some crypto ranches in the future, where people just go off site and just, here's one Mr. Power, here's one of mine and manage all these things.
Good possibility. You just never know.
Good job, guys.
Good.
Oh, yeah, antisocial, please.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, oh, yeah.
Is this the about?
Yeah.
I did. I'm not giving it. I'm not touching it.
You have
Speaking to my husband because he's always it's fine.
Yeah.
I want him to know more.
Yeah, so I'll take over here. I'll put it on. that.
There's 2 pages of fine, so you can use the other one too, if you're out of it.
Pretty happy today. Well, yeah.
These chairs here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm waiting probably to give you the.
They go, what? They go like this and-
You're gonna sell? I mean,
Thank you, Madam. Thank
Yeah.
you. Chad. I learned
Well,
some.
Yeah, especially in the first.
Yes.
It's a lot. Well, that's why we try to break it up a little bit
Yeah.
anyway and say, oh,
Yeah.
this is a high level
I mean, the
overview.
margins.
What do you mean, pen there, Will?
These things that you're gonna need to know, need to say, hey, no, I didn't hear that somewhere.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to this thing. We don't know it all by any stretch and it changes every day. That's the thing.